We are very honored to be joined tonight by Commander Sani Ceto, and Sani Ceto is a hybrid ET who incarnated in 1958, and she recalls her past life as the commander of the spacecraft that crashed in Roswell, New Mexico in July of 1947. Her remarkable story is told in her autobiography, Stranded on Earth, the story of a Roswell crash survivor, published by Earthstar Publications in June of 2004. Other works include Zeddy Child, Lost Upon a One-Star World, and Celestial Beings of the Bible. She is an artist, doll maker, teacher, and relayer of communications from her Zeta Reticulum Council, and is often in contact with her father and guide known as Kinyeo. I'll allow her to pronounce it correctly. She's a nature lover, ufologist, amateur entomologist, and meteorologist whose mission is to spread love and light to planet Earth and to correct the ideology behind her people's purpose for visiting Earth. And she joins us on the line, Commander Sani Ceto. And, of course, the website is linked up right on the front page of SpookySouthCoast.com if you want to check out any of her work as well. Commander, good evening. Thank you for joining us here tonight.
Good afternoon, and Yotewa. Greetings to you.
Now, when did you realize in this current incarnation in your Earth form, when did you realize that you were actually the being that had crashed in Roswell of July of 1947? Because that must have been quite a shock if it wasn't something that you'd known or felt all along.
It was when my father came into the bedroom and levitated me out of that crib when I was a baby, and told me that the man laying in the bed with my Earth mother was not my biological father.
Oh, so your extraterrestrial father came to visit you then?
Yes, and when he levitated me out of that crib, I started having flashbacks. And I also had flashbacks when lightning hit our front porch when I was about 4. The flashbacks are like pictures of movies you see in your head of flying advanced aircraft and sitting at a console with computers and modern stuff that you have today, flying over mountains and terrain and watching instrument panels.
And being at that young age, you were able to comprehend that, or was it kind of your original soul coming through? I'm just wondering, like, how somebody that age, would deal with that kind of image.
Like old knowledge that I already knew that was just being opened up. Like you go into a dark room and you turn on a light switch, you see the light.
Mm-hmm. So then I guess then knowing from a young age, it made it easier to deal with it. It wasn't something that kind of struck you later on that you had to kind of figure out what was going on.
Because at that age, I was not conditioned.
Sure.
By the culture or society that says, oh, this is not so. Because when you're little, things come to you more because you don't have that veil of conditioning. And when I came here, I didn't have a veil to begin with, so I brought my memories with me in a way.
And when your biological father came down to enlighten you to this information, were you given any kind of direction as to what your purpose was here on Earth?
I got my directions as I got older, that I was to be a teacher. And there was one thing I wanted to make a correction on. As I was listening, waiting to come on, you said something about 1946. Well, the UFO people and different species have been coming to Earth long before your modern 1946. They've been here before the dinosaurs were ever created on Earth.
I mean, and I can tell you I've done a lot of research. I'm extremely interested in the fact that I do believe that these beings visited ancient cultures, and that is a lot of what we see in some of the archaeology of modern times is the interactions.
Ancient cultures of your Earth have all been guided and visited throughout their prehistory and given their path to choose. They were led on their developments in many different areas.
And so you've been given all this information at a young age. You've come to this awareness. You know that these beings have been visiting us for a long time. So it must make things very difficult for you to have to deal with people who aren't open to the message that extraterrestrials who have visited are trying to give us.
About those people is they are so conditioned and so asleep that they're unaware of what is really out there beyond their little boxes of reality that they structure around themselves and through their conditioning. You see, because most people on the Earth are taught that Earth is the only planet that has life. Well, maybe that might be true in your solar system, but there's other universes and galaxies beyond what you know here.
Well, it's just our own. I guess it's the human race's own ego, that it's.
By ego to think that they are the only species that is intelligent or is advanced, but yet they fail to look down on the ground and see a little ant, knowing that that ant is part of a larger society of other ants that is as highly intelligent as they are.
And that's one of the biggest problems that we have as a race, human beings do, is just that self-centeredness and the fact that we do think because we interact with each other and we seem to be more advanced as a society, we think that we're smarter, and that's not necessarily the case.
If your society was so-called advanced, you would not have wars among your nations, you would not have hunger or poverty, you would have learned to solve the problems that is facing your world. You would not be having this horrible pollution that you have going on because you would have had evolved yourselves as a species to know what caring for the planet was, and you would learn unconditional love for one another if your species was truly evolved.
Well, may I counter with ants wage war? They enslave each other, and they also go through fear.
That is instinct.
And man does not rule himself by instinct?
To an extent, but he also has a much higher purpose than an instinct.
We do like to think that we're a higher consciousness, and if that's the case, then we should see beyond the folly of lesser creatures, or what we deem to be lesser creatures that engage in those activities. That'd just be my perspective on it. But Commander, in your world, you come from Zeta Reticuli?
Yes.
And in your world, has those beings reached the point of where everything is peaceful, everybody coexists?
All planets evolve and grow. Some planets de-evolve and don't grow and cause their extinction down the line. All planets are given a choice to grow and evolve and learn. They learn from their past mistakes and move forward. Some planets never learn and they go backwards.
Well, that begs the question then, from an outside perspective and a more advanced perspective, is Earth advancing or have we kind of stagnated?
Well, I would say Earth is kind of stagnated. Look at all the problems you have going on in your world. Look at all the hate. Look at all the anger.
Mm-hmm. But do you think that as technology advances, will that make us become a more peaceful people? Does there need to be some sort of...
Well, right now, where it's A-OK in another nation to stone a woman to death for a crime that would be considered unjust to be stoned and tortured to death, to me, that's not advanced.
Well, is there a possibility, though, that if your people came down and freely interacted with us, that maybe that would be kind of turning the light on and to let us see that there is something greater than ourselves and that maybe we shouldn't be these warrior people that we are?
It's like this. Babies have to learn to crawl before they can walk.
That's true, but babies also need their parents' help to show them some things, too, and maybe we need your people's help.
And also, eons ago, after the Earth's people were created by the Pleiadians scientists and the others who came here to intervene and help create the humans, they left. Because the Earth was a laboratory, and they left. And when they left, the reptoids and reptilians came and intervened in the genetics of the modern Earth humans and manipulated the DNA to make them an aggressive species and make them warlike.
Well, I guess then that kind of gives us an excuse to say that we're trying to fight our own nature.
It was your DNA's being altered over the eons and centuries by outsiders that came from other star systems that did not have the best interests of the Earth species in mind.
Now, when you were coming here in 1947, when your crew was on its way to Earth, for what purpose were you visiting?
We were coming here because of the test you were doing with the atoms in your big waters that you call your ocean. You were detonating these devices that created radiation that poisoned not only the land and the waters, but it spread beyond your Earth's atmosphere and started to poison other worlds. That's what led us here.
They didn't start bombing in the oceans at Bikini Atolls until the 1950s.
But you were doing tests.
I mean, at least there was enough of a warning sign.
Tests and stuff with atoms that led us to come here, because you're playing with atoms is like giving a baby a loaded gun. A baby does not know the effects of what that gun will do, or giving a little baby a bomb or something. The little baby has no idea what it's doing. The baby is just a toy. But it could have major consequences for not only your Earth, but other planets beyond. And that is why we came.
Is this something that your planet had gone through in the past?
Our planet was nuked before, or it was the reptoids came and destroyed our world.
So,
had to live under biodomes, which is glass bubble cities, because our atmosphere and our planet was destroyed and damaged. There were more of them than there was of us, and we could not fight them off.
So your crew came here to kind of keep an eye on what we were doing. What exactly happened then that would cause the crash? Because all the years, hopefully, all the years and the advancements that you had, there hadn't been a lot of crashes before that at least humans knew about. So what was it that caused this particular crash?
Your people are experimenting with a radar that was being tested in Ohio out of Dayton. The technology was shared with the bases in New Mexico and some other states, and they were all working and coordinating this as a group effort to test this new radar system, and that, combined with a lightning storm or thunderstorm that was created by the usage of chemtrails, is what led to the accident occurring, because it knocked out the force fields and the propulsion and everything else due to the interaction of all three of these things.
And that's your ship used a propulsion system that, some sort of silent system that we wouldn't have been able to hear or anything like that otherwise?
That is correct.
I don't suppose you
What
could.
What was your fuel system?
It was a ball. A little ball.
A ball? And what forces were
A
used?
ball of putty-like substance is not found in your solar system.
Okay, what substance is it? I happen to be an analytical chemist for
Element 114.
Don't you mean element 115?
No, there was an element 114 that was derived from 115.
It would be a degradative product, but yes, how would you use it?
It was used to power the craft.
In which way?
To create an energy source.
In what manner? Using what manner of physics?
It was like a gas.
It was like a gas. Okay, 114 would be a gas. 115 would be an actual solid because it would form a complete shell. All the electrons would be filled
It
in.
would create tremendous heat.
It also would be unstable. It only lasts
Very
microseconds.
unstable. And if it's wet, if this putty gets wet, it's highly explosive.
You wouldn't be able to get it to be wet in a gaseous state, but that's not, important.
If it was outside of the container that it was in and it got wet, it could be explosive.
If it got outside of its container in any form, it would be explosive.
Yeah.
But we're applying somewhat of earthly knowledge to. I mean, maybe they've come up with ways to do things that we don't know.
Well,
matter is matter across the universe, but maybe they're able to handle it in a different way than we are.
Well, it would involve a series of electromagnetic shells to keep it in a containment field.
Whatever
let's not
it is.
Let's not involve science in this.
Commander Sani, whatever it is, just tell him that you're not going to give him a system to power his Mercedes with it.
Oh, they don't deserve that technology because he'd use it for war.
Well, I can guarantee that at least Matt Moniz would.
Death, destruction, and mayhem.
That's kind of his thing. But so all these different factors kind of pulled into the crash happening, and
Took my eyes and my attention off of the force field monitors that I was supposed to be watching because one of the crew members called to my attention to something on their screen. So I turned around, and when I took my eyes off of my control console, that's where the force field went down.
Now, I know a number of people that were involved in the recovery of your craft, when it crashed. And I know the exact and true number of bodies that were recovered. Okay? That has not been actually published. How many of your crew members
There
were
were
there?
5 of us.
Okay, if that's what you say.
well,
If you're pointing out stuff to try to think I'm a fake, well, I just don't continue anymore.
Well, also though, I mean,
I don't like skeptics, and I will not deal with them.
oh, Matt Moniz is not a skeptic. That is definitely not the case. I think he's trying to get the balance of what we know with the balance of what you know and try and find out.
Because ever since I have gone public with this, I've had nothing but ridicule and debasement, and I'm damn tired of it.
Oh, no, we're not ridiculing you. That's not, as I explained to you prior on the phone to when we went on, our job here is just to allow you to tell your story. We're not...
I used to tell a story when the people, all they'll do is just sit and laugh.
What?
They haven't lived my life.
We're not laughing at all. We would never do that. No, our as I explained to you, what we do here on this show is we allow you to come on and tell your story. Listeners can listen to what you have to present to them, and then they go back and they make the decisions about whether or not they want to believe you. We wouldn't suggest that you were in any way making this up. That's not our job. Our job is to allow you to tell the story, and if questions pop up where the information that Matt has as being a ufologist for over 20 years and researching this case, he just wants to...
the editor for Fate magazine.
He just wants to throw
What
in...
is that? He's the editor of Fate?
I am the UFO editor for Fate magazine now.
Magazine is excellent. I've read your magazine. It's wonderful.
And we actually broadcast on Fate Radio as well on their website, too, so...
Fate magazine is excellent. I've read that for a long, long time.
Pretty much since you got here. It started in 1948.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, we kind of have you to thank for it, because that was the story that helped kick off Fate magazine, so...
Actually, it was Kenneth Arnold's.
And if it wasn't because of my crash happening, you would not have the advancements that you have currently today. Like your internet, you wouldn't have your space shuttle, you wouldn't have none of your modern stuff you have right now.
Well,
after the accident happened, your technology leaped and bounded overnight.
Well, let me say thank you for that, then, because I love the technology that we have. And I couldn't live without it, so thank you for that. And I'm sorry that we kind of took it and bastardized it the way that we have.
I love technology, too.
So the crash occurred, and the ship went down outside of Roswell. And
the ship, I want to make a correction.
Sure.
The ship was not no disc.
Okay.
The ship was a delta wing. similar in appearance to your modern space shuttle or one of your stealth fighters. But it looked more like it was a wing, a delta wing, sort of like arrowhead shape. It was not no saucer.
Okay.
A saucer did go down in 1948. That was 100 foot in diameter, but it was not. Ours was not no saucer. It was a delta wing.
The one in 1948, would that have crashed in Aztec, New Mexico?
Yes.
Okay.
It was a pure aluminum disc. Aluminum was magnesium.
Very interesting.
Back then, magnesium and aluminum was fairly rare.
So was that disc, the occupants of that disc, were they a different race or from a different planet than your people?
They were of my species. They were Zeddies.
Okay. So is that your of Zeddy distinction, and that is what we would refer to as the Greys?
The Greys are insects. It's like your bees and your ants and your wasps. We are highly evolved social insects.
Okay.
They are not lizard, they are not reptilian or reptoid, they are insectoid.
So you're operating as one kind of collective consciousness.
They are a hive mind. That is, all minds think the same. All minds know.
So now, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We are ruled by the hive mind. And our rulers are the Kigush, which are the manted people.
And the reptilians that you mentioned, they're kind of the enemy of your people?
They are not only the enemy to my species, but they are the controllers of Earth. And they control all of your governments on Earth. And a reptoid, if you was to see them, because most of them shape-shift to appear as humans, if you was to see one in their true state, they would look like a large lizard that stands on two legs that wears a uniform.
Sounds like Barack.
Well, a lot of your leaders have been reptoids.
I'm going to allow you that little political diatribe there, Matt Moniz. If you don't mind, Commander Sani, we'd like to open the phone lines up for phone calls and talk to some of the listeners. And again, of course, as you mentioned, that you don't want to deal with any ridicule. But as I mentioned before, though, people may have questions, and they are
have an answer for them. That people need to keep their mind open.
Yep, keep your mind open and keep the questions respectful. And the numbers are 1-877-996-1420. It's up on the screen at Fate Radio, or you can call in locally at 508-996-0500. And so let's go to the phones. Good evening. You are on Spooky South Coast with Commander Sani Ceto. How are you?
Hi, this is Rachel Sani. How are you?
I'm okay.
It's good to hear your voice. Do you recognize me from Facebook?
What is your Facebook name?
Rachel Wolf.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we were going to share some beer on your birthday.
Yes, I'm on Facebook. That's one of my favorite sites.
Yes, I saw that you were going to be on Spooky South Coast tonight, and I just wanted to listen and say that, whether, I know you don't like dealing with the skeptics, and sometimes I don't either, but I think whether or not people believe what you're saying, the point is that you're spreading a positive message of hope and peace, and if anything else, people should be listening to that message and spreading that as well.
Well, I try to promote love and acceptance for all, and I try to be a light worker of the highest source. But, sometimes it's very hard, and I don't get a lot of positive remarks. But I try to spread light, and I'm a teacher, and that's my main purpose, is to teach and to awaken those star seeds that are here on Earth that are asleep, because the Earth is dying and needs to be helped. The whole planet is dying, but a lot of people do not see that. They don't have the ways to help.
Yes, and I've heard you do radio shows and things before, and I just wanted to call and say hi to you and know that I am listening, and I hope that other people at least listen to the positive message that you're sending.
I have a question, Rachel. Are you ever in chat in Facebook?
Yeah, I am. You should definitely chat with me sometime.
I would love to chat with you.
Okay.
But most of the time when I go in there, if I'm not posting anything, I'm either beating, what's her name, Renee Dolliver or Connie Green and Blockies or one of my other games. But I would be honored to chat with you.
All right, Sani. We'll have to do that sometime. I'm going to get off the phone so that other people can call in and ask questions. But I just wanted to let you know that you've got a friend out here, okay?
And it's so wonderful to hear someone in Facebook, to hear your voice.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to talk to you, Sani.
And you be blessed.
Thank you. You too. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Yep.
See, I mean, and that's the important thing, Commander Sani, is that you want the message to get out there. Whether or not people, you know, I know that you get frustrated with the skeptics and the people and the non-believers, but whether they believe you or not, as long as they come away with that message that you're promoting, then I guess you've done your job here on Earth.
I've been trying recently to try to get the message out that your planet Gaia is a living, breathing being that is dying. She's dying.
From the way that we've treated it, or just from natural causes?
Your accidents and stuff that's been going on has been disgusting.
Well,
I've been getting lots of messages from Gaia, but...
Is it reversible? Can we fix it?
Well, it's like this. Where do you live? You in Massachusetts?
Yes, we're right outside Cape Cod.
Well, Gaia is bleeding. Her blood is coming to the surface. And underneath where that blood is coming from, there's a huge, gigantic bubble sitting under there. If that even starts to come to the surface, there will be no life left on this planet. The Gaia's blood is that oil that is leaking. The bubble that is under lots of extreme pressure is natural gas. And if that should come up, it's goodbye to everything.
Well, hopefully we can at least hold it off for a little while longer. But I think we'll probably do each other in with weaponry before we'll kill the Earth. So.
Well, your planet is giving you lots of warning signs that you need to heed what you're doing to the planet.
Well, when you first crashed, I mean, I don't know what kind of recollections you've been able to have of what happened during the crash, but did you essentially die upon impact in your...
I lasted about a month in your time. I was interrogated and tortured till I died.
Interrogated by the military?
By your military, yes.
And what particular information were they trying to get from you, and did you give it to them?
They wanted to know why we were here, what our purpose was, if we were going to invade. I said, we are scientists, which is why we were here. We came to study what you were doing to your planet and to your atmosphere and how you were treating other living beings. We were curious. We were scientists. That's why we came.
And you gave this information to the military?
And to your leader. And if we would have been invaded, we would have invaded long before the crash. We would have blackened your skies with ships with our intent to invade.
Sure, if you had that kind of technology, you could have done it any time you wanted to.
Your Earth is a baby compared to other planets out there that are eons and eons into your future as far as technology is concerned. Earth is like a baby. If your Earth lasts long enough and evolves and lives for several trillions of years into your future, maybe your planet will be like ours.
Well, I know that you're in contact with beings from your planet, right? You still receive messages from them.
Yes, I received messages, and I'm still in contact.
Has there been any talk about you? Because I know that you're a hybrid. So
yes, I'm a hybrid.
So you are part alien, part human in your current form. Has there been any talk about returning you to Zeta Reticuli?
I'm here to do a mission. You know, I had a choice to go back when I first went to Roswell to visit the site of my impact. I had a chance to go back, and I said, no, I want to stay because I feel the Earth people need to be taught what really happened that night. They need to be woken up and unlearn the conditioning that they've never been alone.
Could you possibly, because you are in touch with others from your planet, could you tell them that maybe if they came here and they...
Not going to do anything, you see.
See, no, I don't agree with that. I think if they came down and they did the proverbial landing on the White House lawn, I think it would wake up a lot of people.
That's just like... Okay, it's like this. Excuse me. If a baby doesn't learn from its mistakes, you just don't step in and keep correcting the mistakes of the baby. The baby's got to learn from its mistakes to grow. If you keep showing a species how to do things and you step in all the time for that species, well, that species will never learn the consequences of what it has done.
Well, then it sounds like, at least in the eyes of your people, that you don't think that we're so far gone that you need to intervene. You still think there's a chance that we can do it on our own.
We observe and we watch, but we don't intervene. Now, if it was something global in nature, then we might intervene. But we usually go by the rule of non-interference.
Well, as any good scientist would. Well, we have another call on the line for you. Again, if you'd like to call in, the numbers are 1-877-996-1420, 508-996-0500, and you can email us spookycrew@spookysouthcoast.com. You can also go to the chat room at Fate Radio, which you can get to right on the chat link on spookysouthcoast.com. So let's go to the phones. And remember, keep the questions respectful. And we've got just about 7 minutes here until the news breaks, so we got to keep an eye on the clock as well. Good evening. You're on Spooky South Coast with Commander Sani. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, we're spooktacular, as we say here.
Great. One quick question for Sani, then I'll hang up and listen to the answer. What are your ideas? What do you think of organized religion, about a god and all that? I just want to hear your answer. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Organized religion. In the beginning, the word God referred to not just one entity, but a collective of different scientists from other solar systems and universes. The word God is short for geneticist of diversity. All religions on your earth were given to humans by ancient extraterrestrials who came here in disk ships and other ships to help guide and evolve the path of humans' development and to help them grow.
Before we let you go, I do have to ask this one question that popped up in the chat room, and you can decline if you want to, for maybe for safety reasons, but they want to know if you could name any of the reptilian beings who have actually held the office of President of the United States.
Other than the current.
I'll just give the last names if that's all right.
Sure.
Bush.
Okay.
That one was obvious.
Yeah. But so it has been something that we've had over the years, or would you say that it's kind of limited to that particular family?
No, there's others as well.
Would any of our founding fathers have been of that race?
Your first one?
Really?
Washington?
It takes me back a little bit because I would have thought he would be one of the least likely to be one of these.
I have my
controlling
suspicions
races.
about Van Buren.
Are there any world leaders today that you could reveal as being one of these reptoids?
There is some that are across your big waters that are reptoids.
Okay. If you say President Obama, Matt Moniz will buy you a steak.
2.
Well, I don't have an opinion as far as Obama being reptoid because I felt he's done good to the people. Although I don't agree with some of the things that are going on.
I was going to say, you call yourself advanced?
What's that?
I said, you think he's doing good? What? And you call yourself advanced?
He's just taking shots at the president. Well, I don't mean literally shots at the president, at least not yet. But that's just Matt's way of trying to start some political debate here. Don't worry about that. He's as anti-Obama as they come.
Well, I'm not going to say how the last election went, how I was led to vote, but that's my opinion.
So,
I wanted someone in there that could make a difference and make a change for all people.
And boy, didn't we get snookered.
But at least you got the health reform, which is important.
well, I mean, that's another step toward hopefully being a better society, but whether or not it goes about the right way, we could argue that all day long, but at least the fact that we're taking care of one another finally.
Yes, and that's what it was meant to be, to take care of one another.
What about us supposed to be able to take care of ourselves?
Well, you got to do that first before you can take care of others. You got to have that knowing inside yourself as to who you are and what you are before you could reach out to others.
Well, but if everybody knew themselves and could take care of themselves, they would have no need to take care of each other.
But as a species, you would have to have the need to take care of each other. Why?
Well, we're just about out of time here, Sani, but I did want to thank you for joining us.
I was wondering if you could send me a link to this program.
Absolutely. Once we get it up online, I can send you a link to it, and you'll be able to get. If you need it on a CD, I can send it to you that way as well. And just want to make sure that we mention your books one more time. It's the first one, the autobiography, is Stranded on Earth: The Story of a Roswell Crash Survivor. Then Zeddy Child, Lost Upon a One-Star World, and Celestial Beings of the Bible. And you have a CD as well, right?
I did do some television. You might want to put this on Facebook if you like. But yes, I've done some limited television.
So, and a music CD as well?
Yes, I played drums and sang and did a little keyboard.
Excellent. And music is the universal language, that is for sure, I think.
It is the universal language to promote harmony among all species. Because music is a blend of all different kinds of energies. You blend all those energies together, it creates a unity of sound. Like there should be a unity of people. But it takes all energies to make a world.
Well, then I couldn't think of a better way to end it than that. Thank you very much, Commander Sani Ceto, for joining us, and hopefully you can come back sometime in the future, and we can really get into some of the intricacies of the different species and all of that stuff, because I'm fascinated to
come back again.
Okay, hopefully that you felt that everything was respectful, and like I said, it's just, we're here to help you tell your story. That's all our job is.
And I would be honored to come back, and I want to tell you I really enjoy Fate magazine. It's a very well-researched, thought-of magazine, and you have wonderful articles. So I would like to see more in there about exposing the chemtrails and that, because I've been trying to do that.
All right, well, thank you very much. We'll talk soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, we'll be right back with more here on Spooky South Coast.
Your home. Beaming from the studios of AM 1420 WBSM into the night and beyond. Here's more of...
Now it's time for a breakdown.
Don't mind if I do.
the supernatural as something that isn't supposed to happen, but it does happen.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of Spooky South Coast, broadcasting on WBSM Radio and Fate Radio as well. The Fate Radio video stream is up and running, and you can see we got a little on-the-air light over there, and we've got Matt Moniz waving, and it's interesting when we can see ourselves on the screen, because now I realize, I probably shouldn't stand up, because it makes me look imposing and intimidating, and that's not the look I'm going for here. But it does make me look tall, which is the only time that ever happens.
Yes, it does.
So we're glad to be part of the Fate Radio Network, of course. We're very excited to be teaming with Fate, and of course Matt, as he mentioned, is now the UFO editor for Fate Magazine, and Brian and Denver are in the chat room right now from Ghostology and the other side, and they're part of the Fate family. It's really something that we've been honored to be a part of pretty much since we've started. We've always had like a little ad, in Fate Magazine promoting our show, and we've always promoted the magazine here on the program, and it's the, I guess we always say it's the Reader's Digest of the paranormal, but it's so much more than that. It's
one of the quintessential
it's the Time
requirements.
Magazine of
if
the
you're
paranormal.
in my personal opinion, if you're a paranormal person, it's one of the quintessential must-haves in reading, because it covers all of the little corners of everything paranormal.
And now with Fate Radio, they're essentially doing the same thing, only in a multimedia format. So you've got great shows like The Other Side, like Ghostology, and now Spooky South Coast. They let us into the mix.
Yeah,
they're desperate for programming, I guess. I don't know. But and they're going to be having the Paranormal Open Mic coming up, where people will be able to try out their programs on the network. So that's going to be pretty interesting stuff. And it's just going to be a way for people to find out more about the paranormal, to engage in more discussion. You've got the video, you've got the audio, you've got the chat, you've got the magazine, you've got the website. Everything comes together for just the perfect way for everybody to discuss, to learn, to educate, and on top of that, to entertain.
Yeah.
If you can, have some fun and learn a few things along the way, well, that's probably the best possible scenario. And now that we've got this spooky TV feed here on Fate Radio, we figure you don't want to just see us three clowns all the time. Oh, by the way, Matt Costa is over there. I know you can't really see him on the video, but he is a real person. He's not a robot. But we figure you got to see us all the time. So from time to time, we got to give you something worth tuning in for. And next week we're going to do that. We're going to have the crew of Paranormal Expeditions, which is a new venture out of Massachusetts here, where we are, and I guess they won't be offended if I say this, but they're essentially the 3 hottest chicks in the paranormal, and I know that's up for debate. There's some very hot chicks out in the paranormal, and I mean that, of course, in a very respectful way, but they are promoting themselves as such. They're 3 young women who are very easy on the eyes, who are out investigating the paranormal, and they're going to be joining us here in this studio. And we promise you, we will spin that camera around, so you don't have to see us 3. Again, I mean that in the most respectful manner, except when I'm talking about us 3. So they'll be here next week. They'll share with us about their new venture. And then the week after that, on the 24th, we're going to have Jeff Belanger here live in the studio. And for those of you who are fans of Jeff's writings, of GhostVillage.com, of 30-odd Minutes, we're kind of spoiled here at Spooky South Coast, because he's willing to drive 2 hours to come here and hang out with us from time to time. And he'll be doing so to promote his new book, Picture Yourself Legend Tripping.
Correct.
And so the book
Just
will
got
be out.
my copy yesterday.
The book will be out in bookstores by then, so make sure you grab a copy. And he'll be here to share with us not just the different things that will be featured in the book, the different legends that he'll talk about, but also just the concept of legend tripping. This whole idea of how we've gone from that to investigating to now kind of making a move back to legend tripping. And it's going to be a great discussion because, first of all, it's always great when we have Jeff here in the studio. And he'll probably pick his nose and maybe move
Did
the
you
camera.
recharge the taser?
I think you've got some better devices we could use to keep him under control. But we might need some of that alien fuel technology just to keep him in his place. But I'm sure he'll do wildly inappropriate things to the camera, which will make it lots more fun. And it'll be a great discussion. That's going to be a primetime show because of the Red Sox schedule. We have to go against the normal radio schedule here with Spooky South Coast, which generally we go on the air at 10 o'clock every Saturday night. But during baseball season, there are some nights when we're pushed back or moved forward due to the baseball schedule. And, of course, all the updates will always be on SpookySouthCoast.com. You can find us on Twitter, twitter.com/SpookySC. And we're on Facebook. You just look up me, Tim Weisberg, on Facebook, and you'll find everything as well. So, what else should we promote while we've got their rapt attention? Every episode we've ever done is available on the archives online, through iTunes, through Zune Marketplace, and wherever podcasts are found. So you'll always be able to hear the show. And Fate Radio is also doing video podcasts as well, so you'll be able to get them there. So much Spooky South Coast, so little time. What are you waiting for? Actually, stop listening to the live show now. Go back, start listening to some of the archive shows, and then we'll sit here and we'll wait for you.
Yeah.
I wanted to see how quiet I could be before the off-the-air alarm started going off, but it didn't go off. All right, well, here on Spooky South Coast, from time to time, we like to consider ourselves normal. It doesn't happen very often, but there are moments where we are. But every week, we guarantee you, for at least a few minutes, we get a little weird. So let's do that now.
More bad news. Well, I got a great show for you today with some wonderful weird stuff. I feel so very weird.
The Week in Weird. All right, well, it's been a weird week. It's been a little strange. You know what's the strangest thing, though? Is how we tried to launch this whole video thing last week and it didn't work, and now everything seems to be working perfectly. You know, knock on wood. So let's hope it keeps going. All right, this story comes from the Telegraph. A zoo in San Diego, California is planning to use the frozen cells of dead animals in an attempt to bring back endangered species back from the brink of extinction. Researchers at the Scripps Research Institute in La Jolla, California, and the San Diego Zoo have collaborated to create stem cells from the skin cells of a dead drill monkey. I don't know what a drill monkey is, but I want one. An endangered monkey native to Equatorial Guinea, Nigeria, and Cameroon. The scientists, speaking in the International Society for Stem Cell Research in San Francisco, hope that the, quote, induced pluripotent stem, or iPS cells, thus created can be biochemically persuaded into becoming sperm and egg cells. Basically, they're saying they hope they get busy. They can then be implanted into the womb of another monkey and will hopefully form a viable fetus. And then hopefully they can create monkeys that can get busy on their own. San Diego Zoo's Frozen Zoo project has taken samples from 8,400 individuals of more than 800 species and has hoped that these samples can be used in IVF programs to improve captive breeding projects. Gene Loring, one of the Scripps researchers, told New Scientist, you could actually breed from animals that are dead. So there are concerns that the reprogramming process can cause the iPS cells to become cancerous, but other researchers have developed techniques for creating iPS cells without leaving the reprogrammed genes in the new cells. So let's see. What are some of the animals that we would like to see them bring back that are dead or extinct and could be? I'm thinking rhinoki, right, from the Wuzzles.
Yep.
Gummy bears. What are some of the other Zubomafu? Whatever Goofy is.
Jim Morrison?
Jim Morrison. No, but Jim Morrison, that brings up a good point. When you start doing this, I mean, it's only...
Why limit it
to why limit to just animals? I mean, everybody loves a good monkey. There can never be enough monkeys, but there's also...
No, Mike Nesbitt is enough.
It's true. He invented whiteout.
No, his mother did, but that's all right.
Well, he marketed it. Yeah. And he invented MTV. And I'm sure he's ashamed of what it's become. All right, Matt Costa, what do you have for us?
All right. This is from Reuters. The psychic clashes between Paul the Octopus and Manny the Parrot, both predicting different outcomes of the FIFA World Cup 2010 matches. Paul Paul is actually given 100% accuracy in his predictions of the current World Cup in South Africa, but he might soon have a competitor from Manny the Parakeet from Singapore, who incidentally has forecasted all quarterfinal ties of the World Cup and Spain's semifinal triumph over Germany. The Octopus Paul picking Spain as the victor, and Manny the Parakeet choosing the Netherlands as the new World Cup champions. Both the spiritual animals are predicted same till semifinals, but in the finals they are predicted different. The mystic Paul the Octopus resides in Oberhausen Aquarium in Germany. Paul has gained some enemies calling for his death after Germans hit to Spain in the semifinal. The difference for Manny the Parakeet from Singapore, who belongs to a roadside spiritualist, whose predictions have helped local business boom. So, I guess that was my spooky South Coast sports flash.
That's Sport Flash. Did they teach you that at CSB, how to do the Pete Shepard Sport Flash?
They kind of devoted a day to it.
Really?
Yeah. Not the technique that he has,
but to just doing sports flashes. Well, we're going to start incorporating more of those into the show, because we have many friends and many psychics who have been part of this show who can predict sporting events. So we'll do like a sports flash of what their predictions are for things coming up, and we'll also get a bookie service to be a new sponsor as well. Speaking of people who have had their legs broken over gambling debts, Matt Moniz, what do you have for us?
From the Daily Mail. A Chinese airport was closed after a mysterious object was spotted in the sky on Wednesday. Arcing over Zhejiang province and capital of Hangzhou, the UFO appeared to glow with an eerie white light and left a bright tail in its wake. Zhoushan Airport was closed after the UFO was detected at around 9 p.m. and dozens of flights had to be diverted. Stunned witnesses reported seeing a comet-like fireball in the sky, and a number of local residents took photos of the strange ball of light. The local bus driver, giving his name only as Yu, said he had seen a strange glowing object in the sky late Wednesday afternoon. The thing suddenly ran westward fast, like it was escaping from something, he said. Inbound flights were diverted to nearby airports, while outbound flights were delayed for 3 to 4 hours. Some Chinese experts claimed that the strange light was actually debris from a U.S. intercontinental ballistic missile. Chinese officials later said that they knew what the object had been, but were unable to make it public because there was a military connection.
Well, I had a chance to see the photo that was being touted as being the UFO that was seen that shut the
I've seen 4 or 5
down.
of them, so
yeah,
they're all different.
Yeah, each one of them is different, which is one of the things that caught my attention. And but the one that is being put out there is the main one that a lot of these news outlets are picking up on. It's got to be a long exposure shot of a helicopter, because if you look up long exposure helicopter shots on Google Images, you'll see 30, 40, 50 images that look exactly like that. Even though, we know the way a helicopter looks and with the rotating blades and everything, but it ends up, from the motion of that and the long exposure film, you end up getting what looks like a sustained long lighted image.
Well, you got to remember, people using these digital cameras, the camera is going to want to keep its aperture open as long as possible, aiming up into basically a black sky. Mm-hmm. So it's going to keep an even longer exposure limit going. And if the helicopter is moving and going, it's going to create a streak and a blur, just like what you're seeing in some of these photographs.
So if you want to shoot a UFO, then you want to set your digital camera to sports.
Sure.
So it gets that fast motion.
Right.
So it's a little picture of the guy kicking the soccer ball. Set it to that, and you'll be all set. Matt, look at Matt Costa setting his phone right now, just in case we encounter a UFO on the way out of here. And stranger things have happened.
Well, then again, like I said to you before, could have been just somebody taking a picture of a helicopter that was responding to the incident, too. I mean, you're dealing with stuff coming out of China. It's not always perfect information, is it?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, is when they shut it down, they say that it's a military issue. You know, that's all you're going to get out of the Chinese government. You're lucky you got that.
Yeah.
So, well, it'll be interesting to keep an eye on this story as the weeks progress, because it is something that's been lighting up the internet and the various different message boards. People are paying attention to this one. So, we'll see what happens.
Well, China's been under a major UFO flap for the last 6 months.
Well, and here's maybe the biggest sighting so far. At least in terms of its civilian.
Well, there was another one that occurred that they got 45 minutes of video, and it's being officially
shut
studied.
down the airport over it.
No.
So they can still kind of sweep that under the rug. Even though people saw it, they can still sweep it under the rug. It's a little harder to explain away shutting down an airport. So, I was going to make a joke about Matt Moniz shutting down an airport, but...
Hey, that's just because I had extra radioactive materials that was left on my hands from work.
It's like, remember the opening of The Simpsons when that little glowing rod gets bounced around across the town? That's
the carbon rod.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happens. All right, well, we'll take a break. Matt Moniz will go down to the store for a cadmium bar, and we'll have more of Spooky South Coast in just a few minutes.
What the hell was that, man? No, man, like, hey, man, wow, I was watching this object, man, like the satellite that we saw the other night, right? And, like, it was just going right across the sky, man, and then, I mean, it just suddenly, it just changed direction and went whizzing right off, man. It was going across the sky, and it flashed 3 times at me and zigzagged and whizzed off, man. And I saw it. That was a UFO beaming back at you.
Well, I dreamed I saw the silver spaceships flying in the yellow haze of the
So you just heard Matt Moniz's report of his last UFO sighting.
From one of my favorite movies.
Well, we'll tell everybody what movie it is.
Oh, come on. They got to know.
They don't always know. Go ahead, tell them.
No.
Fine.
Let them figure it out.
All right. And we really should make a list of movies that people should check out.
But what's interesting about that movie is that when it goes into talking about the crash, now that predates a lot of the people coming out talking about the Roswell crash, believe it or not.
There's so many movies that kind of poke fun at the topic, you know what I mean? But that actually have information in them that would actually be worthwhile to people to check out. So maybe we should compile a list. Maybe this is something you could do with Fate Magazine. We should compile a list of movies that, are about UFO, reference UFOs, and maybe take out what nuggets of knowledge there are in them that people should pay attention to. Take a movie like Independence Day, which is obviously just using alien invasion for the mega disaster holiday pick that, we've become used to over the years for various different subject matter. This was the aliens version. So take that and pull out whatever interesting science nuggets there are within that to share with people. I think it'd be interesting reading, because I think people often gloss over some of these stories, as people might have glossed over, say, the story of our first hour guest, Commander Sani Ceto. They might gloss over that, but then there might be little nuggets in there that you take back out that you can actually apply to your research, to your knowledge, and to your education.
Well, yeah, like from the movie's Easy Rider, for those that were really straining for it. But that movie came out in the very early 70s. Actually, 1970, if I'm not mistaken, right after... yeah, but anyway, that was actually before a lot of stuff was known about Roswell.
Well, and wasn't Dennis Hopper kind of a big UFO...
He actually is.
Yeah.
Was. Yeah.
But so there you go. I mean, it's...
As is Jack Nicholson.
It's another example of how they can take, their information that they want to share, and they find a mainstream way to work it in, some way to get it in. Just remember, Lau. Just remember, every 4 years ago, we weren't hearing about tachyons like we are now. Now it's everywhere. You know, it's almost
well,
getting.
You weren't, but yeah,
it's almost getting tacky. So, all right, well, let's take this call here, and we're going to go open lines for the rest of the show here. We got about a half an hour left. So if you want to call in, share your paranormal experiences, your questions, your theories, anything to do with the paranormal, just give us a call, 508-996-0500 or 1-877-996-1420. You can also join the chat room on Fate Radio, which you can get to right on SpookySouthCoast.com. And, of course, you can email us, SpookyCrew@SpookySouthCoast.com as well. Good evening. You are on Spooky South Coast. How are you?
Good. How you doing, guys?
Oh, we are spooktacular.
Good. I don't think she expected Matt Moniz to be that intelligent. Because that's why she was pissed.
You ever seen him? Most people don't think so when they see him either.
She got pissed because, you know what I mean? You ask, if the questions are too involving, it just, I got to ask, where did she come from? I mean, where did you...
Zeta Reticuli, didn't you hear?
No, not real, not where she's supposed to be from. How did you get a hold of her?
Well, it's part of our job here in booking the show to kind of pay attention to the different, the anniversaries that pop up and the different things that might be going on. So when we were coming upon the anniversary of the Roswell crash, I just decided to look around the internet and see, if there's any new things that I hadn't yet learned, or any new information, or any new people out there talking about it. And I just happened across her website, and it seemed an interesting angle. I mean, I'm not saying whether or not she is or she isn't this being that crashed in this ship, but it's a different approach to the topic and a chance to look at things from a different angle than we have in the past. So to me,
I just laughed because I said he pissed her off, and I started laughing because you could tell. I'm going to be doubted, you know what I mean? That's it for me.
Well, I could have really shredded her, but
I know you could have. I saw it coming. I know you wanted to. I saw you held. You don't have to even answer, but I saw you. I knew you held back. I said,
"Oh yeah,
guy's could bury her if he wanted to."
Well, I looked right at him before we went on the air, and I said, rein it in.
Because I know he could have, because I know he's an intelligent man, and I know he could have did it. And I realize you're gonna have different guests on, but sometimes that just puts a damper because enough people, I think, there's enough critics and people that criticize about anybody that saw UFOs a liar and did this and that, and I just think sometimes that enhances it, you know what I'm saying?
Well, but at the same time, we can get accused too often of only putting on guests that support our beliefs and only putting on guests that we feel strengthens the topic. And people will say, sometimes you're going to have the other end of it, and you have to acknowledge the fact that those people are out there. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that, like I said before, I'm not saying that she is legit or that she's a hoax. That's not my job. If you ask me my belief off the air, I would tell you what I think, but here it's our chance to let her tell the story. And if her story at least gets some interest in the Roswell case, now somebody's listening to the show in the first hour. Mm-hmm. They hear this Commander Sani Ceto, who is supposedly this reincarnated alien. So they start listening to the information she's presenting. They go and they look it up to see if it is true or not. They say, wow, that sounds kind of crazy. Let me look that up. And when they look it up, now they're diving into the topic. Now they're learning about it. So even though, you're learning from a negative approach, from trying to disprove this person, you're at least learning.
No, that's why you guys have a show, because you know how to go about it. That's good. That's really, I can see that part, You want to get more people to question it and be involved in it more. On that subject, I spoke with, I know him pretty well, elderly man, a retired colonel out of the Army. Mm-hmm. He's 82 or 83, I believe. And I asked him about that, about Roswell, too. And even back, he says, as far as back as the 60s, there were still people that they wouldn't bring it up, and they couldn't bring it up. They were still told to be quiet. And I found that odd. You know what I mean?
It still exists today. That gag order still exists today with people that are collecting Social Security and their pensions from the military. They are still under orders to keep quiet.
Yeah, and actually he, not exactly on on Roswell, but on different things, he still has to be quiet. He still, he doesn't really know anything about that, but he does remember. Because I had to ask him. I thought of it one day because I see him like a couple of times a week. I'm a gunsmith, and I get to talk. He comes by and visits, and I said, "Yeah, I had to ask him." He says, "Yeah," he says, "and even in the '60s, they were told not to, they had little whisperings of this and that." But I said, something had to happen. He says, "Yeah, it did." He says he didn't know all the details, but obviously he had friends, and he says, "Yeah, they never, even within them, it never leaked out." You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It never really nothing. But one thing they all knew that something did, and it wasn't a weather balloon. It was far from a weather balloon, and he said most of the talk back then was that some technology, even today they use, was from that. Whatever crashed, that they used some of the technology, and some of it they couldn't because they did. To this day, he says, as far as they know, that they didn't know what it was. You know what I mean? They couldn't decipher, or they couldn't do this or that, but they did get some flying technology out of it.
As well as a number of different things. Now, you say you're a gunsmith. Would you be able to help tweak my new Dragunov I just bought?
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
But really, you did?
Well, a Romanian PSL.
Yeah. Yeah, I can do anything you want to it.
Can you fix a 9mm that couldn't hit the broadside of a barn?
Oh, anything.
No, Tim, the thing you got there, that's a Smith & Wesson 9mm, this thing is horrible.
Oh, you get the 69 series, one of those?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, actually, them were strong. They're strong guns. The accuracy, but they were really a strong gun. And
no, you let me use it. You stand a better chance of hitting somebody by throwing it.
That's what you said. It's a strong gun. That's what it's for.
Yeah, it is a strong, but the accuracy, the sights were horrible on those, but the accuracy was bad, but they were a gun that you could fire all day long, and, it would, still shoot, but if I was hitting something, like you said, they're very heavy, and, matter of fact, at the gun store, he's got one, and people are interested in it, but they know about, the lack of accuracy. The best thing you want to get is a Glock. Get a Glock, you're all set.
I'm a Walther man myself.
Which one do you like? Which model?
I personally carry a PP 67.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
32 cal.
Yeah, that's actually.
Well, we're getting off topic.
We are getting I'm starting to get a little bit worried about whether or not we're going to get jumped in the parking lot by a militia.
Yeah, that's going to actually have pinpoint accuracy, the Walther PP.
Yeah, hence why I carry it.
Yeah, 380s and all that. I don't like. I carry a Glock 27, and when it's summer, the Glock 23, and the colder months. But the PPs, that's very. But sorry about get off the car.
No problem. You guys are going to have to go to the range sometime together anyway.
But if you ever want anything done, my friend's shop is in South Dartmouth, Ron's Sport Shop.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not plugging it because I know that.
Nah, go ahead.
But he's in South Dartmouth, and you ever want anything done, just go by there because, just ask for John or just tell him, you're a friend of mine, and you'll get a hold of me if I'm not there and do whatever you want.
All right. We'll come down and see you.
Yeah, anytime. Okay, guys.
All right. Thanks, John. Have a good night.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
And if you'd like to call in, we've got some time left here on the program. 508-996-0500, 1-877-996-1420. Those are the numbers. SpookySouthCoast.com is our website. FateMag.com/Fate Radio is where you can get the video stream. And if you're a regular Spooky South Coast listener and you listen on the radio and you're at home and you've got your computer handy, log on. FateMag.com/Fate Radio. You can also click the chat link right on SpookySouthCoast.com, and you can jump into the chat room there where there's some discussion going on. And one of our good friends is actually in the chat room right now and helping to get the multimedia discussion going on. And of course, the guys from Fate Radio are there too, Denver and Brian. So stop in, say hi. Let them know that you appreciate everything going on with Fate Radio. And Matt Moniz, we kid around a lot with you, and we poke fun at you for a lot of things. But
not a problem.
You know, you are very knowledgeable in the field. You are very well respected in the field. Now that you're armed, I am a little bit more worried about you than I was in years past. But no, I mean, we do poke fun. I just want everybody to know, for those of you who might be tuning in for the first time and experiencing our show for the first time, we are, you know, we're really good friends off the air here, and you know, we're together all the time. We do stuff together all the time. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of good-natured ribbing here. It's when we have Chris Balzano on the show and we crap all over him we really don't like. So.
No, we love Chris.
Well, he's already ripping me in the chat room, I think. So there we go.
That's what it is. Okay.
Turnabout is fair play. So, but if you want to call in and share, again, the numbers are 508-996-0500, 1-877-996-1420. As I mentioned earlier at the top of the hour, our guests next week will be the girls from Paranormal Expedition, a new group out of Quincy, Massachusetts, who basically will steal all the camera time from us next week, because you're not going to want to look at us when they're in the studio. And I don't think they'll mind us saying that. You can check them out on Facebook. If you look up Paranormal Expeditions, that's with the X, not with the E. You'll find them there, and you can check out some of the photos they've done. They've done a few photo shoots and a few excursions out there that they posted up, and I know they have video and evidence coming as well. And then the following week, July 24th, we'll be on in prime time. I believe the show is going to start at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and we will have Jeff Belanger, who is a relative upstart in the paranormal field. He's a new guy just breaking onto the scene. You know him from being the author of numerous books, including the new one, Picture Yourself Legend Tripping. He's also the host of 30-Odd Minutes, and he's the mayor of GhostVillage.com. So it's going to be a great night with him, as always, and it'll get goofy, I'm sure, as it always does when he's here. And sorry, just reading the chat room. You know, generally, I usually can't multitask like I'm able to tonight. So this is a rare night when I'm able to look at Matt's screen, look at my screen, see what's going on in the chat room, watch for calls. So let's take advantage of it while we can. Folks, call in if you want to share any experiences or questions you might have. Again, we had a interesting first-hour discussion with Commander Sani Ceto, the extraterrestrial who piloted the ship that landed in Roswell. And one of the things that I wanted to discuss with you, Matt Moniz, is from time to time we do have these instances where people will come on the show and they'll share their story, and it doesn't always agree with the information that you have. As an investigator, as a researcher, as a scientist, as a all-around great human being, how do you take the information that they're presenting and take it with what you know and decide, you know, what is right?
Well, usually I look for replication of data. And any time where you have independent research that usually comes up with the same thing over and over, chances are what they found is right. And then you get somebody coming out from left field throwing something completely different at you. You have to take that into consideration. In science, it's all about probabilities and possibilities. It's very possible that she, like our previous guest, may indeed be a reincarnated alien. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that says that she can't be with what we know today. I mean, we don't really know enough about reincarnation. We just know that it is something that is potentially possible from what we've studied with just humans, never mind aliens.
But, I mean, at least, unless you've seen it with your own eyes, it's possible, like, say the information about the number of bodies involved in the crash.
Yes.
You could be misinformed by people.
But from 3 separate sources that were there?
But, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm throwing out a what if. Maybe that's not a good example of a what if, but it's possible that when somebody's giving us the inside story like that, maybe their information is true and what has been disseminated isn't necessarily true.
Right. Like I said, my information comes from the people that were there and part of the recovery. X amount of bodies were known to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been 5.
Well, what was the number that you were told? Can you share that with us?
Well, I want to leave that closed for right now.
Okay. Will you tell me off the air?
It's more than 1.
You'll tell me off the air?
Sure.
Okay. It's good enough for me. I don't care if you folks find out, as long as I know. That's what it's all about. Matt Costa, You are the, I guess we still refer to you as the resident skeptic here on Spooky South Coast. What were your thoughts on Commander Sani and her story?
I mean, I guess it could be a possibility. We don't know everything about everything that's out there. Especially, we don't know what power spacecraft, and I guess neither does she. But
the element of 114 is very short-lived.
Oh,
I'm talking like within microseconds worth of it. I mean,
all right.
I mean, like Tim said, they could have lengthened that span of life for that element in some.
I really don't see how. It's a transient element. It goes from one state to another. It lasts only microseconds.
Can we say this? I mean, again, I don't want to say whether or not I believe that Commander Sani is telling the truth or not, because it's not for us to decide on the air. But you have to admit, though, that there was a higher degree of research involved in the story maybe than would normally occur. I mean, if it is a story that's being told, it's at least somewhat well researched.
If you think so. Referring to her?
Well, in general, I mean, you've when you get involved with these stories, you know, you have to at least stand back sometimes when there are you've been involved with crop circle hoaxes. You have to kind of stand back and look at them and admire at least the amount of work that's gone into creating.
Like I said,
that.
when I was at the hoaxing competition, I got to see what it took for these people to make a simple, basic crop circle, basic pictogram, and it took the winning group 6.5 hours to make one that was 25 feet wide by roughly 50. It was more like 60 feet long, but it took them 6 hours to make this. And some of these creations are literally quarter of a mile in length, and some, eighth of a mile wide and stuff like that, and done in literally minutes.
Well, there is an interesting question here from the chat room, and I'll bring it up here on the air. And as a host, isn't it our job to ask the questions on behalf of the guests?
And
yes, and that is. I mean, absolutely. And we try to do that. We try to ask the questions that the guests, try to ask questions that the callers would, if they were calling in to ask. But also, it's your job as well as listeners to call in and ask the questions too, because that's why we have an open line format here, so that you can call in and discuss. But we don't let people get off the hook. I mean, that's we can't.
I try to
do
do my job here tonight. I know what I know about science, and I know what I know about the particulars of this specific case, and the sciences involved in it. And if you're going to come in saying I know this and this, well, it's my job to test you.
Absolutely. And normally I won't allow somebody to say to me on the phone beforehand, if it's disrespectful, I'm going to hang up.
Was I disrespectful?
No, you weren't. But what I'm saying is I wouldn't allow somebody to do that, because we can't control who's going to call in.
No.
We can't control what's going to be said before we can get over there and hit the button in time. And that's the kind of stuff that happens. And if you're going to come out there with a message like that, you do have to expect that there's going to be some backlash, that there's going to be some people.
There's going to be pointed questions. No if, no and, no but.
And we try to be a fair and balanced, entertaining radio program, and even we get attacked from time to time from people who think that we're nuts, or that we're too much of a glad handers to some of these people, and it's going to happen. That's the idea of having the discussion, having this kind of discourse about these topics, is it needs to be an open conversation that can have a little negativity in it if necessary. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, how are you going to have the chance to come back with the information if you don't know what it is that they're questioning in their mind?
Sure, none of us have all the answers. Like I said, this lady could very well be. We don't know for sure. We can't say positively she is, and nobody can say positively she isn't.
And as we said in the first hour, sometimes it's not important necessarily about what's being said as the message that you get out of it. And that's hopefully what people will take away from the discussion, is that those who are on the outside of our world do see that things are kind of going downhill, but that we still have a chance to make a change. So let's do it. Let's make a change. I'm all for that. But I also do believe that if she is part of this race of beings from another planet, she should tell them to come here. And you have to agree, Matt Moniz, that would kind of solve a lot of the problems, kind of Star Trek First Contact style. You know, they come down here, they land, they make contact, they let us know that they're here, and it changes everything for us.
That's a whole nother can of worms. That's, post-disclosure type of, it's when you start getting into the exopolitics of things. It would solve certain problems, but it would open up a whole nother can of worms that we're not ready for. We are not ready for an open contact, really, because we are still having a hard time contacting and communicating with each other on this planet. Never mind this race from another world.
Wouldn't contact with those other beings kind of kickstart us amongst ourselves?
Oh, yeah, we'd start a royal fight amongst all of us. Who's going to contact them? What beliefs are we going to put forward to them? There's going to be a lot of internal politics that we're still dealing with by ourselves. Never mind trying to, incorporate it to another race from outside our planet.
Maybe it's because I'm already coming from the perspective of I think that humans as a race don't know anything, that I would expect that they would admit as much when faced with beings from another world already. I guess I forget about the ego that would get in the way and the idea of many people think that we know everything, and so therefore they'd want to be at the forefront.
Exactly.
Well, I know one guy who wouldn't be fighting his way to the front, and that's Matt Moniz.
I want to sit back and watch what they do.
Sit back and observe.
Yeah.
And that's the approach that we'll just take with Commander Sani and her story, and we'll just sit back and observe, and we'll see what happens. But, I mean, she is somebody that's out there and spreading this message of positivity, and that's something we can certainly get behind. Oh, look, we got a little plug on the Paranormal Expeditions Facebook. So they'll be here next week, and, that's another thing where, you get the chance to look at somebody who is starting an entity like this, starting a group with the purpose of being an all-girl paranormal group, and you get to ask the questions of why, they would choose to go that route and, what their approach is going to be. But also we're going to expect you to bring the questions as well. And we'll have the lines open up. They'll be here in the studio, so they'll be talking with us and taking your calls. And we just do ask, as we mentioned before, you heard Matt Moniz is armed. So anybody who wants to come down here and stalk these poor girls, better think twice. I'm looking at you, Matt Costa.
That means I got to upgrade to the 45?
No, you don't have to disclose what you have. Just let them think that you have it. So we covered a lot of things tonight, huh?
I think I'm worried about. I don't know if I can keep my gut sucked in for 2 hours.
How do you think I feel? I'm here in front of the camera and in all my draped polo shirt glory.
Yeah, but you're married.
Yeah. No, I just mean in terms of conveying a professional camera image. I'm concerned. I'm not worried about hot chicks in the paranormal. I deal with that stuff day and night.
Me too.
That's nothing. Yeah, you're used to it. Yeah. So that'll about do it for tonight's show. I think we've digressed as far as we possibly can for one evening. But as I said, we will be back next week after the Red Sox to welcome the girls from Paranormal Expeditions. And then the week after that, we'll be on at 8 p.m., as soon as Pete gives us the okay, for a primetime program with Jeff Belanger. And then we'll be bouncing around a little bit with the Red Sox schedule as the season goes on. But you'll always be able to find out updates from SpookySouthCoast.com, and our plan is, even on the nights that we have to wait for the Red Sox, we're going to turn this camera on Fate Radio, so you'll be able to see what's going on in the studio. We'll turn the little camera mic on, so you'll even hear what's going on. So you'll know the behind-the-scenes aspects of everything Spooky South Coast, and you're going to probably be bored to tears. But at least it gives you something to do on a Saturday night. And we're happy that we could be your boredom killers. Costa, you got anything else?
I'm not sure.
No? Moniz, anything else?
I'm sorry, Commander.
We do want to have her back in the future, sure. I mean, it'd be really interesting if we could have her, come on and share, get her on and Jesse Marcel on and have him maybe share the details that he knows and see what kind of goes on and what sounds
interesting.
Jesse's a nice guy.
He's a real nice guy.
Yeah, he'll consider it. We'll find out.
I had fun hanging with him in Roswell.
He seems to be a very grounded individual. So, I mean, you don't get to be a doctor in the military, being somebody who would go on the air and start a hoax. So, we'll look into that in the future. But for now, I think we should call it a night. We've done enough damage for one evening. So, like I said, we'll be back next week, and you can catch all the archives on SpookySouthCoast.com, on iTunes, on Zune Marketplace, everywhere that you can find podcasts. And, of course, there'll be video podcasts. Stitcher. Oh, yeah. I forgot to plug Stitcher. You can actually get Spooky South Coast on your mobile device, on your cell phone, your iPhone, your BlackBerry, your Palm, whatever it is that you carry around in your pocket. You'll be able to put it right there, Spooky South Coast, wherever you are. And look,
that's a scary thought.
Yeah, but and we have two updated episodes today so far, and I'm going to try to get the rest caught up, including the Bridgewater Triangle show, which I know many people are waiting to hear. So we'll be back next week. Until then, from Matt Costa, from Matt Moniz, I'm Tim Weisberg. We want you all to stay spooktacular.